Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Drawing with Mr. Sepulveda. I'm Mr. Sepulveda, and today I've got a few special guests with me. I've got Addison, I've got Ben, and joining us later is going to be Mrs. Bassett. And today we've got an art challenge. We're going to do a canvas swap challenge. What that means is we're going to have 6 minutes painting on our own canvases, and then we're going to switch our canvases every 6 minutes to the next artist. And they're going to continue the painting from wherever we left off. And then after we get to our original painting, we'll have 6 final minutes to finish it up, and then we'll see what our final results are. So without further ado, let's go to the time lapse. All right, Ben, so talk to me about what you started to think of when you had your canvas painting.
So what I was trying to do was I was trying to make like a sunset first, and then I went to put like a little like dock in, trying to make it like a beach setting, but then we ran out of time. And then when I got Mr. Sepulveda's, I decided to like try to like blend all of them together, but I basically like couldn't, like, because I didn't have enough time. But like,
Okay.
you know, you can see me doing like the red there.
Yeah, so let's kind of talk about it. So when you, because I saw yours, you started off with the gradient similar to me, right? And then you said you were putting in like a dock, trying to get a whole scene going on. So when you got mine, you just told me you wanted to continue the gradient. So what are you doing with the top portion with the blue right now?
Oh, so there, I was gonna, like, when I saw, like, the red and orange, I was thinking, like, maybe try to make it, like, on the top, like, a water, like, segment, and then towards the bottom, like, a fire segment, but it didn't end up going the way I wanted it, so.
Okay, so would you say that this was a little bit harder to do?
Yeah, and because there was also wet paint.
Okay, and because there's wet paint. All right, talk to me about this canvas right here.
So, when I got this one, I can already see that they were trying to do like a character of some sort. And then I tried to like make a neck, but it didn't work, so it wasn't the same color. So I just ended up going for like a goldish kind of like shirt. And then I started working on the hair because I mean I don't want her to like this character to be bald.
Now, can I ask you something, Ben? At any point in time, because we had 6 minutes, did you ever feel stressed out at all?
Yes.
Throughout the whole thing, or just at one point?
I like when I got this one, like I got really stressed when that I used for the clothing, how it wasn't the same color.
Okay. I did notice that you started using Posca paint markers. Do you have a lot of experience with Posca paint?
Yeah.
How much experience do you have?
I don't know, a lot.
Like a lot? So do you always use them for like character designs and things like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it must have felt natural. What about using paintbrushes?
I use paint kind of a lot, but not that much.
Okay, all right. Talk to me about this one.
So when I saw this one, it definitely like screams like looking like a frog to me. So I like tried to draw like a little lily pad, and then I started going around it with like a black to like kind of like outline it.
Okay. Was in your mind, were you trying to make it pop out from the background?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can see there's like a lot of similar tones there, right? It's a lot of green on blue and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Did you find this one to be more challenging than the other ones that you had?
Yes.
Okay, was it because of that it looks like it's almost done, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so during this canvas swap, trying to get a painting that's almost completely done is kind of giving you a little less time to kind of work with. And now it looks like we're back to your original canvas. Mm-hmm. So what was going through your mind when you got to yours?
So I saw how like there was like people were going along with like the beach setting, but like the top didn't have like anything, so I was trying to like make it darker towards the top.
Okay.
And then I decided to like draw a boat and stuff to like make it like screen beach kind of.
Okay, I like that. I like that. So your overall idea looks like it kind of ended up in the direction that you wanted, right?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. So with that being said, let's see what the final product looks like. All right, guys, so I've got Addison here. Addie, talk to me about what you thought about this canvas swap challenge.
It was hard.
So what made it hard? Was it the coming up with an idea of what to paint on a blank
Yes.
canvas, or was it like the time limit? What was it for you?
I don't think it was really the time. It was really just I didn't know what Miss Bassett was going to give me, and coming up with an idea to put on the canvas was harder.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, right? Because I see that you're painting a bow, right? So you kind of went. Is this something that you draw all the time or paint all the time?
I draw sometimes.
You draw this sometimes? Okay, so this was something familiar to you. This was something in your comfort zone. So you were more nervous about what the next artist was going to give you, and I guess in this case it was Miss Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But how do you think you did with that bow?
I think it looks okay.
Think it looks okay? I think it came out pretty nice because it has some shadows and stuff like that. I'm looking at the canvas now. This is what Miss Bassett gave you. What was the first thoughts that came to mind when you got Miss Bassett's painting?
I thought it was something like outside, like somewhere in nature.
Somewhere in nature. What made you think that?
There's a lot of greens and blues.
A lot of greens and blues, so you're thinking nature. I'm thinking definitely like water, swampish, definitely a lot of greenery in there. So I definitely could see that. Can you walk us through what you're doing here with the gold and the white?
I'm making flowers.
Making flowers? Okay. So what made you go to flowers first?
I don't know.
Because you don't know. So it seems like, flowers kind of works well with this just because of the green and the blue and the natural component to it, right? Mm-hmm. So that doesn't look too bad. So it looked like you almost worked instinctively to go to this point without thinking too hard, I think. I do like the fact that you add a little pop of purple in there. I think it makes it pop out a little bit more. It makes it stand out from the green and the blue that were originally in the painting. All right, so whose canvas did you get next?
Ben's.
You got Ben's Ben's canvas, right? And so what did you do with Ben's canvas?
I added the blue and the yellow at the bottom.
The blue and the yellow at the bottom. So the blue was what? Was it water?
Yeah.
All right, so I see you filling in some blue, filling in some of the water by the dock. What else did you do with it?
Not that much.
Nothing much. 6 minutes kind of got there pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And why? And when you were looking at this, did you automatically know what you were going to do? Like, did you automatically know you were going to go pull the blue for water?
I think so.
You think so? Like, what made you say water? Because I know. Talking to Ben earlier, he was talking about a beach theme. So, did you register a beach theme? Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I see you going in for gold, like a goldish yellow for like the sand. I think it's a good color, fun color, and I think it's great because it's darker than what's going on. Like I'm assuming is a sunset in the background. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go on to our final canvas. And what was this one?
I made an alien because I heard Miss Bassett say she was trying to go for like a space theme.
All right, so during our conversations, we were obviously talking to each other and just kind of talking out loud as we were painting, so you went alien for the space theme. Definitely, to me, when I saw the end results of this, alien rutabaga was definitely the first thought that came to mind. Definitely looks like a fun character piece. Did you work long on it? Did it take you the whole 6 minutes? About how long do you think it took you to knock it out?
Probably took around maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay, so a good chunk of the 6 minute time was to design this character, which sounds really cool, sounds really intense. All right, now, honest to God truth, Addie, what was your first thought when you got your canvas back?
I don't know.
You don't know? Were you like, this is exactly where I thought it was going to go?
No.
Or, oh, no, it didn't, right? So what do you think? What didn't go well? What did you imagine everyone else was going to do to it?
I didn't think the nose was going to look like that.
Yeah, it is a pretty big nose. I think it's a big nose. But I see you hitting up some highlights. I see you doing some teeth and stuff. So obviously we knew this was going to be a character. Like it was going to be a girl, a face going on here. Did you like the colors that were chosen for your character, or not so much? Do you think it was a little too dark? Do you think it was a little too muddied up?
I think the colors were okay. They don't really match though, because there's like an orange and then like a green.
That's kind of true, right? Some of the oranges, the greens. There's like a strand of like blonde hair, which I think is kind of interesting inside of her brown hair, but it's not too bad, right? All right, guys. So without further ado, we'll look at the finished product for Addie's painting. I've got Miss Bassett with me. Miss Bassett, talk to me about what your thoughts were about this canvas swap challenge.
I think when I initially looked at it, I was thinking, how am I going to fill this up, the whole canvas, really quick? I have a thing against white canvases. So my goal was to fill it as fast as I possibly could. So I kept diluting my paint, hence why there's water and paint all over the table. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it came out pretty well. Did you have like a vision in your mind when you were going with the color choices you made?
No, not necessarily. At first, I kept thinking, just fill your canvas as quick as you can, mix colors that work. And then I just kept playing with blues and greens and decided that was the direction I was going to go.
So whose canvas do you have here?
I have Ben's canvas. And when I received it, I didn't know what to do with it, but then I realized I had tons of green paint that I had to do something with. So decided I was going to start trying to make palm trees and anything that I could possibly think of that was green in the painting. So here I am still trying to use up every bit of green. And then realizing that I had these amazing markers that I was going to somehow bring in. So
That's pretty cool. And when you went with palm trees, were you using any of his background information to help you figure out, like, hey, we could put palm trees here?
yeah, he had this whole beach scene going on. I felt like that's the direction he was going.
Here, I recognize this one. This one was definitely mine.
Yeah.
I see that you turned it sideways. Why'd you do that?
Well, you had mentioned before, why not try turning the canvas sideways? So I thought could not go with anything other than turning it sideways. And as soon as I did that, I immediately started thinking about it being some kind of random solar system. So I turned it sideways and started making this out of the world, and then started doing pink clouds. I had realized at that point I had colors I hadn't used yet that I wanted to pull in, and just, I guess, felt whatever I felt. And it came out to be this kind of weird sci-fi scene.
That's pretty cool. I liked how you did like the little splatter paint technique in there. I thought that was pretty nice that you brought that out. Talk to me about Addie's piece.
Yeah, this was the most challenging because I felt like there was so much already there. The hard part for me on this one was that it was still so wet. So I was trying to figure out how I could move the paint around to make it look how I wanted it to look. Everything I kept trying was so wet it wouldn't even really stay on or stick to it. So then I just started deciding to switch to the markers and just, for the paint pens, and just have a blast drawing and doodling and fancifying it as best as I could.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So you mentioned that the canvas being wet was a challenge. Were there any other challenges that you felt that you had during the swap challenge? Did time play a role? Or
yeah, time was an issue. With our time, I felt like that was the best thing that we did. The hardest part was the wet paint, because it was hard to work on top of wet paint when you wanted to move paint around. At one point, my water was really dirty, and I wish that I had thought that through a little better, because it was so filthy I couldn't do anything with it.
And then after we were done, we ended up with our own original canvases. Talk to me about yours when you received it.
Yeah, the flowers in the background are perfect. I was still fascinated with using other colors that I hadn't really used yet. So at this point, I thought, how can I use up all of this paint? I like the frog. I thought that was very clever. I like the kind of the lily pads that it's on, but I wanted to figure out a way to, I guess, fancify it up a little bit. Here I am trying to take off some of the paint, and I still have tons of green paint that I'm trying to use. So at this point, I thought, how can I pull in some of the green paint and just add plenty of color to make it different, make it unique.
Now, is this your first canvas swap challenge?
Absolutely, yes.
What were your impressions, like, overall? Like, would you highly recommend it? What did you think about this challenge all around?
It pushed me more than I realized. I guess I came in, I didn't know what to expect, but then when you're working with other artists, that was, I guess, more surprising, because you're having to take what they deem in their head and then morph it into your idea. And I wasn't expecting to have to work with so many different ideas from 3 different artists other than myself.
Let's go ahead and let's see what the final results look like. All right, everyone. So I've got to say I felt a lot of the exact same pressures that Ben, Addie, and Mrs. Bassett did, especially when it came down to time, like the 6-minute time limit. That was pretty fast. Dealing with wet paint was another factor. Coming up with ideas and trying to figure out what the next artist was going to give you and how to interpret it and how to quickly come up with an idea. But I've got to say I had a blast with this. This is my canvas, so the first thing I thought about, and I even said it out loud to everyone, was I was thinking about doing a gradient from the very beginning. So I wanted to make sure that I had some background information there. You can see I'm trying to dilute the water, or dilute the paint rather, using water, but I never made it to the end in the 6 minutes. I think one of my major challenges for myself was keeping track of the timer and letting everyone know what the time was, how much time we had. My phone kept shutting off, so I had to keep using my fingerprint to turn it back on. So I think that could have been another factor in here. Right now I've got Addie's painting, and I was trying to go for a in-between light and darker skin tone. And I wanted to draw a face because I saw the bow and I registered it, and I was like, okay, let's just quickly go ahead and put in a face, but I was running out of time, and so what I was attempting to do was trying to leave some information for Ben, who's going to be the next person to receive that canvas. I got Mrs. Bassett's next from Addie. Addie had contributed the flowers, like she said earlier. And my first thought was all right, well, this is a water scene. It's like a muddy kind of scene. So let me go ahead and draw a frog. My problem is I'm such a sketcher that when it comes to laying down paint, which I'm really not great at, not familiar with the medium as well. So I was having issues because normally I could just sketch, erase, and do whatever it is that I want, but with paint, I don't know what the quote-unquote shortcut key is for putting down a sketch and then layering on top of that sketch. So I think that was a little different. When it came down to shading and putting that green underneath the belly, I was pretty happy with that. And the same thing with like putting it underneath the legs. I thought that was pretty interesting that I was able to pull that off, because digitally, I just put a multiply layer. When I got Ben's canvas, and I'm sorry that it's such off screen, I decided to pull out the Posca paint markers, which I forgot. They're like right in front of me, and I was completely ignoring them. But I wanted to draw people down bottom, and so I'm using a beige and a brown to put down my people, and then I'm going on top of them with like bathing suits and or at least trying to register bathing suits on my end for this. And so there I am, still keeping track of time, and the timer's about to run out here. And then I end up with my canvas, and I was really excited about it. I told Addie this. You guys probably heard it already in the voiceover, but I thought that alien that she gave me was like an alien rutabaga. And I thought it was such a cool character. I honestly was attempting to go for some sort of plant life. Ends up looking like bacteria, and I really wanted like a mountain landscape on this planet. And so I was using purples, and I was mixing in a little bit of blacks with the purples so that I can kind of get a texture going, and trying to put in some highlights with the other purple, diluting it a little bit. I think ultimately the mountain landscape part is something that came out pretty well for me, and I was really excited to be able to pull that off. Ultimately, really satisfied with this challenge. I highly recommend it to anyone and everyone, whether you want to do this with your families, right, like siblings, or include your parents, grandparents, whoever. If you just want to do it with your friends, maybe change the timer, maybe let the paint dry would be a big recommendation, because we let the paint stay wet, and we noticed that it was a lot more difficult to try to apply paint to already wet paint. I thought this was a fun challenge, highly recommend it. Let's see what the final results look like.